ग्रंथ के बारे में कुछ सुनने का। मैं सर्वप्रथम इस ग्रंथ के प्रणेता आदरणीय डॉक्टर सुद्युम्न आचार्य जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो आएँ और ग्रंथ के विषय में कुछ बताएं हम लोगों को।
Honorable President of Book Release Ceremony, Honorable Pandit Dayanand Mishra ji, who is graciously present to bless all of us, respected Professor Sadashiv Dwivedi ji, as a chief guest on the dais, and respected professors, eminent professors, HODs with various various disciplines, revered Professor Dr. Sharadindu Tiwari ji, esteemed Professor Shandilya ji, esteemed Professor Prabhakar Upadhyay ji, revered Professor Priyanka ji, esteemed Professor Principal Dr. Nanta Shastri ji, Panini Kanya Mahavidyalaya, revered Professor Preeti Vimarshini ji, and research scholars and persons who belongs to media, and revered publisher respected Ramanand Tiwari ji, and other persons, other dignitaries who kindly graced the occasion. I am pleased so much, and it is the most pleasant moment for me to be with you on this auspicious occasion of book release ceremony. I worked hard to make the book flawless, informative, worthwhile, having scientific approach. I have written the book following the pattern of Dr. Suniti Kumar Chatterjee and Dr. Siddheshwar Verma, etc. I likened the word to a stone falling in a river or waterfall. It holds various forms in course of time. Sometimes it holds square or circular forms with smooth or rough surfaces. As soon as a geologist scrutinizes the shape, he finds its story. He recognizes what become of this stone in course of time. In very much the same way, a linguist recognizes what become of the word in course of time. What was the original form of the word before it changed to its present form? Nowadays, a powerful tool called comparative linguistics has emerged to identify the most appropriate original form of a present day word and to find out the reason of phonetic and semantic changes. I put up a word as an example to explain the scenario. We have a word stana for female's breast. This word at the same time stands to mean clouds, thunder, or lightning. We hear the root in Dhatu Patha, Stan Gadi Dev Shabde. Dev Shabda means clouds, thunder. Panini has also disciplined the word as Abhinishtanati Mridanga, meaning a musical instrument which sounds loudly. In these circumstances, the question arises how the same word stands for quite different meanings which have no harmony with each other. We do not have even the remotest relation between female's breast and clouds, thunder. To solve such a queer question, we should refer to a comparative linguistics. It suggests to compare the word stana with the Persian word pistan, which may be regarded as a corrupt form of Sanskrit word payastana. So we arrive at the genuine conclusion and find out the original form of the word as payastana. We observe that the Sanskrit word stana was subjected to the elision of two letters, pa and ya. This explanation solves the incongruity and brings to the reasonable outlook. It is in fact a fine example that not only Sanskrit but other languages of Indo-Iranian and Indo-European family also have contributed to the task of preserving original words. While Sanskrit has the credit of preserving innumerable words, other languages were also not slow to do so. We have very interesting example for this scenario. We use majestically the word panchamah, saptamah. Panini disciplined the word to represent completing number, purana artha, or ordinal number. In English, we use the word fifth, seventh as the counterpart words of Sanskrit panchamah, saptamah. We announce comfortably at first glance that these English words are corrupt form of from Sanskrit panchamah, saptamah. But fact remains that English suffix tha is as correct, as genuine as Sanskrit suffix ma. Panini has disciplined the suffix tha with the aphorism Thatcha Chandasi. With this, he supplied valuable information that the words ending with tha are also correct in the Vedas. So, the suffix tha has the same correctness as ma. So, we are safe to assume that Sanskrit, along with other languages of the same family, were also the carrier and conveyor of the golden chain of words and views coming from the Vedas. I tried my best to explain the words through etymology and analysis, as well as through comparison of words with Indo-Aryan, Indo-Iranian, and Indo-European family languages. Doing so, I achieved miraculously revealing often unknown mentalities of the common man. With this observation, it is genuine to say that Indian history is not only documented in the epics, in the scripture, it is also embedded in idioms, in hearsays, and what is more, in words. No doubt, Sanskrit has preserved the vast treasure of original words. In addition to this, the words coming from other family languages have also been over time the part and parcel of Sanskrit vocabulary. So they also became the source of Indian history. We should scrutinize and such Sanskritized words with all care and caution to understand the original meaning as well as semantic changes of the word. We take a nice word to clarify our view. We have a popular word, pata, meaning cotton cloth. The word was not used in the Vedas, nor in the Brahmana Grantha, nor Aranyaka, etc. Maharshi Panini also not interpreted this word in Ashtadhyayi. The word pata karpata is enumerated only in Ardharchadi Gana. It is also enumerated in Linganushasana. The root pat cannot be connected with the noun word pata because its meaning has nothing to do with the noun word pata. The meaning of the root, motion, atpat gatau, and sound are not compatible with the word. So we should explore other sources to provide to prove this word. Historian suggests that the cotton cloth and the words Karpata Karpasa came from Austro-Asiatic origin. When the word and this cloth was introduced first, it was not welcomed among aristocracy. Instead, it was looked down upon with crooked eyes. So the common man wearing such clothes were called humorously in Sanskrit as Karpatika, meaning covered with ragged or patched garments, akin to beggar's clothing, whereas the word literally means simply one clad with cotton cloth. However, the common people had no such reservations, so they wholeheartedly embraced the innovation and adopted the full form of the word Karpata in good sense. Hence, the Hindi word Kapada was derived from this Prakrit word Pata rather than from the Sanskrit word Pata. From this Prakrit word Karpata, the Hindi word Kapada was derived from this Prakrit word Karpata rather than from the Sanskrit word Pata. This is a glaring example to show that the word Karpata was employed used in Prakrit community rather than word Pata. Afterwards, the aristocracy also could not keep themselves aloof from this new item in view of its merits. So they adopted the cloth half-heartedly, adopting only half word Pata. It is in fact the best reason why it is not etymologized in Sanskrit grammar. All such interesting views are dealt with in this book.